Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about a topic that's been kind of all over the interwebs lately, and that's about the Oscars. And I'm sure you've probably heard by now that they've released these new standards by which movies have to meet in order to be even considered for a Best Picture nomination. And as you might guess, because this is the Oscars, it's Hollywood, it's all about identity politics. There's nothing in there that talks about the quality of the film or the length of the film or the writing or the acting or technical aspects or even a budget. I mean, and nothing. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about identity politics. It's all about basically what your skin color is, what's hanging between your legs or not hanging between your legs, and then who you want to sleep with. And that's pretty much about it. To meet the Oscar requirements, you have to have at least a certain percentage of basically not white, not straight, and not male people working on it. And a lot of people have thrown up their arms. Well, there's like seems to be two camps. I guess I'm kind of in one camp. One camp is this is the death of art. This is the death of creativity. I think someone on a Tucker Carlson show was basically saying this is the slow death and erosion of creativity and art in America. And then the other camp, which is more where I'm at, like, who cares? It's the Oscars, really. I mean, Hollywood doesn't matter that much. Movies are going to die off and all this sort of stuff. And though I'm kind of in that camp, I have a slightly different take on it. Um, Go with me backwards in time. I was a teenager in the 1980s. I think I became 18 in 1988. That's when I graduated high school. You can start doing math to figure out what my real age is. And then I was like a young adult in my 20s. Went to in the 90s. I went to college and started college in 88. Graduated in 92. It's kind of a young adult all through that. And so all I can say is that I've grown up in the 80s and the 90s and even going into the 2000s. Um, the religious right generally controlled mainstream. Um, there's people pushing on a little bit, but it was all still pretty much underground, which will bring me to my next point. But for the most part, in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, it was very clean, very lily white, very proper, good conservative kind of Americana. The few things that stuck out was like heavy metal and Dungeons and Dragons, and then you get in the punk realm, which was that more 70s and that sort of thing. Um, but whoever controls the mainstream just creates a underground market, a black market, if you will, in ideas, and a lot of times that's where all the interest comes from. This is even going back to the 1950s, 50s, early 60s. You had the beatniks. Remember the beatnik poets? I think Ginsberg was one of them. Those guys. They were counterculture. They were the hippies before they were hippies, and then they were hippies. Uh, these are the people who wanted to poke fun at the squares, who wanted to point out how stupid mainstream society was. And that's what one of the things that the Oscars, these sort of rules, will do. As entertainment, as mainstream entertainment moves more and more in that direction, there will be a group that will move opposite to that direction. And it really doesn't matter what the directions are. Like I said, back in the 80s and 90s, we were talking about this sort of Reagan-esque conservative values sort of ideas. And then people were going off, like with the dead Kennedys and the punk rock revolution. You go to head shops and you would read all sorts of weird magazines and articles and things like that. And it happened in movies as well. The Night of the Living Dead, the classic zombie movie, came out in 1968. Maybe 68 or 69, but yeah, it's late 60s. So at the height of the flower power revolution, this movie was going against everything. On one hand, it was going against the sort of mainstream version of entertainment because, we've got a black guy was the hero of the movie. He slaps a white woman at one point. A little girl kills her obviously well-to-do family. People are eating each other and that sort of thing. And that went against both the sort of good Christian narrative of the mainstream, but also went against even the hippie flower love and peace and love and flower child kind of mentality. Um, and it thrived in these sort of art houses, the sort of underground market. People found it, and this was, of course, like decades. This is even like a few years before I was born. This is long before there was an internet. People had to know someone who knew about this movie. It was all kind of word of mouth. These little art house theaters would show them, and if you lived in a town that didn't have a place like that, you just didn't see it. It just didn't happen. So my take on things is that yes, the Oscars are going to push this identity politics narrative. They've been pushing it for a while. They've just now finally, wrote it down on paper and now requiring people to kind of go with it. And there will always be certain people who will go with it. This will be mainly your big name studios and your big name stars and your big name writers, your big name musics. Those people who care about the accolades of the Academy, whether it's the Screenwriters Guild or the Oscars, the Academy of Motion Pictures, whatever it's called. Who cares really? Those people will care about that, and they will make movies to cater to that, and they'll probably do okay. A lot of people will go see them. There'll be a certain segment of people will go see them. The get woke go broke thing is generally true, but it's not 100% true. But what will happen is there will be a group of people who want to do the opposite, and they will always exist. They will look at what's acceptable according to society standards, and then they will go off and they will do the exact opposite because they want to be unacceptable, and that's where art will live. The guy on Tucker Carlson who's talking about how this is where creativity dies, this is how art dies. That's all bullshit. Art will just move somewhere else. And in the day of internet, of video streaming, of streaming movies on Amazon Prime, lots of other outlets like that, that's where you'll see this sort of stuff. I mention Amazon Prime specifically because they seem to be just kind of interested in like, well, people watch this movie. They don't really care if it's big budget, low budget, if it's crap or if it's not crap. I've seen a lot of like really fun horror movies. There's one called Bad Ben, and it's one of those that's so bad it's good. But it's basically, it looks like a guy, probably a retiree, who decided to make a low budget found footage horror movie in his house using security cameras and some editing software. It's not good, but it's interesting that he was able to do that pretty much all by himself and put out a movie, and Amazon Prime put it out there. And I think he has like 4 or 5 sequels out there now. I like the third one best, by the way. It's kind of funny, and he actually got like some real actors to be in it. And then, of course, you can just post things to YouTube. Now there's BitChute. You can post a lot of things out there online, and people will make movies that people want to go see. And also thanks to like Kickstarter, GoFundMe, Indiegogo, all those sort of things, there's ways for people to get money. And people have been doing this for a long time. John Cassavetes was famous for being an independent filmmaker. He actually acted a lot because he would take the money from his acting. He was in Rosemary's Baby and a few other things. But he would take the money he made from that and he would put it into the films that he wanted to make so he could work outside the studio system. And this is back in the 60s, It's harder to raise money back then. And so, no, I don't think this is going to be the end of creativity and art. I think what it is it's going to help kickstart a new renaissance in indie creativity. Whether you're an indie author like me or you make indie music, which has been going on for a long time. And now what the Oscars is saying, yes, please, independent filmmakers, please go make your film someplace else and don't even bother showing them in theaters anymore. Don't even bother trying to submit them. And what you will see over time, and we've already been kind of seeing this, but I think it'll be accelerated, is that the movies that you see in the theater are going to be boring crap. They're going to be pretentious, artsy, identity politics crap that's bad. And And yeah, and that might be a big chunk of it. Like, I don't even know if the superhero thing is going to stick around much longer. I like Marvel movies. I remember seeing Iron Man in the theaters in, was it 2007, I think? It's been a long time. And I remember just being blown away by it. I think it was the greatest thing ever. Even now, I'm kind of tired of it. Marvel movies, and they're getting into the identity politics too. Um, so don't despair. If you are an independent creator, keep being independent. Keep writing what you want to write. Keep writing the sort of characters you want, the sort of stories you want to tell. Someone out there wants to read that. And I think over time, more and more people will want to read that. They just want to hear good stories. They want to read good stories. They want to watch good music, good movies. They want to experience that sort of unfiltered of experience of another creative person putting stuff out there. Um, so for me, I celebrate the Oscars going woke. To me, that just means the Oscars going to die off a little faster. And once that happens, once people see an Oscar is meaningless, they will stop chasing after it, and they will just start making good movies again. And who gives a damn about that? The Joker kind of already proved one thing, that you can be R rated and not show in China and still make over $1 billion because you make a good movie and it wasn't even that expensive to make. These are the lessons that Hollywood will eventually learn. But in the meantime, all us independent creators, it's actually going to be pretty nice for us. So it's a good time to be a writer. So speaking of writing, you'll find links to all my books below. Memories in the City, my latest noir mystery set in a gas lamp fantasy setting, is out. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I'm going to try that. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can kind of pick it up for free and give it a shot. But then I also have links to Saga the Scout, and then you can also get Yarrick the Scholar, Adventures of Yarrick the Scholar for free. And if you go to my website and sign up for my newsletter, then you'll get a free story involving Yarrick the Scholar. So anyway, I will talk to you next time. Bye.